This is part two to the massive delusion that is the Epstein hoax, according to Trump.
You know, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden. We went through years of that with the Russia hoax.
Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. I'm going to show you how everyone's been being used to pass this message on, and I will not do it. Instead, I go in and I drop a giant dog do on the message. I'm here to drop a giant dog do on the Democrats' Epstein messaging. This thing only has legs because it's tabloid. It's saucy. It's a dream project for the news. It's got legs and gas in the tank. But the Democrats constructed this whole thing, okay? They've been sitting on this story for 20 years. And it wasn't until they started seeing conflict within MAGA, where some MAGA people came out and said, Pam Bondi promised there'd be files released. And the Democrats go, this is an opportunity. Gather up the forces. Let's take all of our money and start paying out alleged victims to come out and do a massive coordinated campaign starting yesterday. We might be able to peel off a few Republicans. We can get Thomas Massie. Hey, Massie, Trump said he was going to primary you. Don't you want to come on board? Massie goes, yeah, I'll come on board. Marjorie Taylor Greene, you weren't getting enough attention recently on the big, beautiful bill. Would you like to come on board? Yeah. Give me the money. Anna Paula Luna, I'm suspect of anyone that got their hands dirty on this already. I'm going, you guys should know better by now. You're adults. And then it got rolled out. They were able to run. They have an excuse to run things against Trump's successes. And the end game is for the Democrats to take the House and the Senate next year in the 2026 election so they can impeach Trump. That's the big picture. We exposed it. And the right, for a while, they got lots of clicks if they put Epstein in the title. That Ghislaine Maxwell testimony was another giant setup that I told you guys was a setup. And now it's been revealed as true. I hate being right all the time. It's not my fault. I just look at the people that are speaking facts. Trump, Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, they have not lied. They've made mistakes, but they have not lied. Here's the proof. Again, now this is going to get deep in the weeds so you can pass these episodes around to your friends and go, this is what Doug TenNapel said on Doug in Exile. Maybe. So start spreading the word to put a big poo-poo, drop a big dog poo-poo on this Democrat story. We're going to crush it now. That's my job. Here's cat turd. Speaking of poo-poo, the mass hold. Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene, clown show continues, already backtracking on what was said hours earlier. What are they backtracking? Thomas Massie. Here's Sean Farash. He's a great Trump, does a great Trump impression. You know what this actually means? This means the victims do not possess enough evidence, proof, facts that would shield them from getting sued. I want to believe these victims, but this means straight up that their claims will not hold up in court. True, guys, we're following facts here. It means that ironclad evidence doesn't exist anymore. No blackmail tapes, no client list, which honestly is a shame, but that's what is being admitted here by Thomas Massie. Survivors at our press conference announcing they are privately compiling their own Epstein list. They know better than to put it out in public. They could have put it out in public. Why didn't they? They would be sued into homelessness. Wrong. That's a conspiracy. No proof for naming names. But Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene and I, Thomas Massie, hiding behind Marjorie Taylor Greene, is trying to get more MAGA on his side, and I are willing to name names in the House of Representatives under the Constitution speech or debate. I mean, yeah, Thomas Massie, put up or shut up. Name the names on the floor, and there will not be one new name named. I guarantee it. Here's Ben Dykes, veteran biker, who we love over here on YouTube. Where were the victims during the Biden and Obama and Bush years? Most were paid off to sign non-disclosure agreements, and now Massie is using them like the pimps and friends that sold them to Ghislaine for $200. It's disgusting. This is the new Russia collusion hoax. While undoubtedly Epstein was a monster, none of it right now is about Epstein or the victims. It's just the next multi-year effort to undercut Trump's presidency. Guys, these are true MAGA guys. They have a wisdom. They look back and they see everything that's happening from a 1,000 miles up. Those of us who watch the news all day long and start seeing these quotes bubble up, you can see it from 1,000 miles away. So I'm asking you to come up on the ladder, come up on the roof, and start looking at the lay of the land, at what's really happening. This is not about child victims. They hide behind that. We already know Democrats do not care about child victims. Okay, if there's ironclad evidence, it would have come out. But wait, there's more. This is about Marjorie Taylor Greene being used. Here's Amy Therese. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene, they are the greatest assets to the liberals and function as their last line of defense. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a liberal asset. Thomas Massie is a liberal asset. And their strongest soldier. That's why they get pushed up front to the microphone. They have to get as many MAGA people as they can up on those microphones. And the only people who fell for it was Thomas Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Rep. Anna Paolona. Without their fake friendship, the right would be in a completely different position. They are a total and complete liability. Wolf in sheep's clothing, fake friends of Trump, etc. Conservatives sincerely believe that which libs cynically deploy to gain power, then go about trying to prove their sincerity by implementing the policy agenda of the libs without any messy excesses, even as the libs literally want them to die in a gutter. Liberals hate Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie. They want them to die in a gutter, but they're being used. Look, here's Benny Johnson. This is what I mean by quit making money on these clicks. I love Benny. I think he's a valuable news source. But dude, breaking Epstein victims and survivors announced they will be releasing their own client list. This is the one that they're backtracking on, because if they start naming names of these billionaires, they fear, allegedly, getting sued. But they could have released this list 20 years ago. Here's Dr. Abby Johnson, great pro-lifer. So we have a list. We've had it for years. We're going to think about releasing a list, and we're still deciding. Just release the list. I absolutely don't believe any of these people anymore. It's time to stop the circus. I hope I'm wrong. No, they could have released a list, and they didn't. The timing is everything. This is more from Veteran Biker. I'm going to skip that to go here to Batya Unger Sargon. This is a 5.5 minute clip, guys. This is long, but this is everything you need to know about that Trump lawsuit back in the day. By a journalist who knows. These are the people who saw the whole thing unfold. So as people start making these accusations against Trump, you will have the inoculation. You've been vaccinated against it.
Michael, what happened?
Well, I was invited to attend this press conference, believe it or not, by Ro Khanna's staff. So I was an invited member of the press. I was duly admitted, and I waited my turn to ask a pertinent question. I posed the question to Bradley Edwards, who is a lawyer, who was one of the longtime legal antagonists of Jeffrey Epstein and represented many of Epstein's purported victims, including Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who was declared to have been deceased in April of this year.
Giuffre, who supposedly killed herself, and she was nuts. I read her testimony. It was dismissed in court, and she retracted it. She's the one that started. This crazy girl is the one who started, and because she was going to write a book. She's the one that said the Mossad and the Jews in Israel funded the entire Epstein thing, that they were spying on foreign adversaries, that they were trying to entrap all these people. It was made up by a 16-year-old girl who had a book deal, who was crazy and ended up, I don't know if she died or if she killed herself. We don't know if she OD'd or not. She's the only one to implicate Trump. She's the only one to implicate Dershowitz and her court case. She either took a plea deal, a payoff, because she did not care about other victims. She wasn't protecting other victims then. If she took money to be silent.
And throughout this press conference, Virginia Roberts Giuffre was being spoken of as though she were this truth-telling martyr, as though she had an unblemished record of credibility. She was the one who actually spawned, in large part, the initial theory that Epstein orchestrated a massive pedophile ring and enforced it through a blackmail operation which ensnared prominent people. Edwards
completely made up, guys, by this one woman. This one girl who at 14-year-olds knew was this genius and no one else could figure it out. In all of the Epstein circles, including Trump being his friend or the Clintons, no one else knew about this black ops, secret black helicopter conspiracy. And then this thing went all over the internet. I know this because I've worked with Steven Spielberg. He was one of the guys implicated by a guy who came out and said that he's working with the Mossad and Epstein, and it's a giant pedophile ring, and they're milking adrenochrome out of babies, and Biden's being pumped up with it. This is a conspiracy that went all over the internet without question and without evidence or proof. This is the only proof. This is the only eyewitness account of the Mossad putting spy cameras everywhere to record foreign people having sex with underage girls that they could use to blackmail them and manipulate other countries, just like the Jews always do, these anti-Semites say. And she was doing it to sell a book. And she pointed at the defense attorney, Dershowitz, and said, "You also raped me, me." And then under oath, she retracted that statement because she knew it wouldn't stick.
This is actually one of the two lawyers who filed the motion on Gouffre's behalf in 2014 that first introduced these allegations. So I wanted to ask Bradley Edwards, why is it that we should think of Virginia Roberts Gouffre as a remotely credible person given her demonstrable track record of repeat fabrications? She accused Alan Dershowitz for nearly a decade straight of having abused her sexually as a minor. She described in graphic detail at least six instances in which she had vehemently claimed that Alan Dershowitz had committed sex crimes against her, and then she recanted those claims.
And she claimed that Trump and Dershowitz tied her to a bed and repeatedly went at her.
Edwards was one of her lawyers when she recanted those claims. She had what was called a memoir manuscript that she wrote, hoping to get a giant book deal or even movie deal around 2011, 2012, in which she made a host of salacious allegations against prominent individuals like the former majority leader of the U.S. Senate, George Mitchell, or a Harvard professor named Stephen that she claimed that she had sex with. She then retracted the claim.
The public had access to this claim in 2011 and 2012. Where was Marjorie Taylor Greene? Where was Thomas Massey? Where was Jasmine Crockett? Where was Adam Schiff? Where were they? Under Obama. They didn't care about justice. Where were you to the people saying, I just want justice for the kids? Where were you? Justice for the kids. This was out in public. I read the files going all the way back. I read during that initial court case in New York, I read this accusation. Dom Luker here on Twitter, he released this accusation a year ago. The documents, they could have come up with it a year ago. Under Biden, no one said anything. It was public. No one cared about victims. This is tabloid BS, Democrat hoax, garbage.
About the Harvard professor while she was under deposition.
So, Michael, you've chronicled this at great length at your great Substack, and I invite readers to go and make up their own minds. Actually, there was another moment at the press conference that really seemed to throw cold water on the claim of there being a list of pedophiles who Jeffrey Epstein had procured underage girls from. Let's play this SOT 1 from the attorney, and I want you to respond to this.
Every one of these women was abused by Jeffrey Epstein, and his scheme was to personally abuse women. When they reached a certain age, he did farm a...
Hold on, that's it. That's the smoking gun by the victim's own lawyer. Did you hear that? I'll rewind it so you can hear it again. He said Jeffrey Epstein abused all these women, which I don't doubt. Possible. Trump said he was a scumbag. But when they came of age, he whored them out. Did you hear that? When they came of age, legal age, he prostituted them out. These aren't victims. These are professional call girls. They were all making money and they were all on board with it. So the whole pedophile thing, the goal for a pedo is to get the youngest you can get. He waited till they were of age to send them out. That's by the victim's own lawyer. There is no pedo ring by his own admission. I love using the enemy's admission against them. We'll play it again. Listen carefully when he says, when they were of age, he sent them out.
By Jeffrey Epstein, and his scheme was to personally abuse women. When they reached a certain age, he did farm a section of them, some of them, out to some of his friends.
Michael, what stood out to me there was him saying when they reached a certain age. It sounds to me like what he's saying is, and then when they became legal, he would start to farm them out. Am I making too much of that phrase? Because that in and of itself would really upend the whole idea that there was a pedophilia ring and that there was anybody else implicated specifically in the underage aspect here, which gets all the headlines.
That's where all of the news came from, was a lie made up by that blonde girl who had a book deal, and the lawyer himself knows better than to repeat that lie. He said when they came of a certain age, Epstein whored them out to other people. This thing is gone. It's done. There is no Epstein creepy weird story. He personally abused them and he's dead. Ghislaine Maxwell, the only other person convicted in this thing, was doing hard time, but MAGA demanded she get a lighter sentence so she'd confess some secret Scooby-Doo facts that we just knew her testimony would finally flush out all these pedophiles. So they put her in a luxury resort prison in Texas. MAGA caused her to get the only person guilty who's alive to get a lighter sentence so they could get more information on this conspiracy. Do you see? And all she said was Trump was fine. There were no other victims. Epstein did nothing. And then everyone just rejects it and goes, well, wait till the next bunch of information comes out. I swear, guys, keep clicking. Click on my channel. Send me a super chat. I swear the next truth is going to come out and you won't believe the shocking truth of the Epstein secret list. I get mad. I don't like when people lie to you. I don't like it. And you repeat them back to me. I don't like that either. I'm here to tell you guys, just hold off, open your minds. We're going to let all this stuff. But every piece of evidence that comes out, there's not one new name, not one new factoid, not a new one will come out, I predict, and it has not so far in 20 years.
Well, Bradley Edwards writes in his own book that there's never really been any compelling evidence that Epstein engaged in blackmail. And the so-called client list is kind of central to the mythology that's been allowed to proliferate unchecked around this stuff. And it's just, by all available evidence, a pure fantasy. So now one of these new victims, Miss Phillips, I spoke to her at the press conference today. I wanted to know, hey, how much money did you get in these multi-million dollar settlements that became available after Epstein's death? She acknowledged that she got a bunch of money from the JP Morgan settlement, but wouldn't give me the...
So someone did get paid. The victims, JP Morgan. If there's a Jewish organization, it's the JP Morgan. Someone got paid. The victims, she made a bunch of money. She got a settlement and they're getting book deals. They got their money. They're paid. And maybe they just need more money now. They got to bring in more rich people to get more settlements. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was AR'd by someone when I was 14, I wouldn't take a settlement. You can pay me $22 million to be quiet, but then other victims, because if I really believed it was true, I'd go, you're going to pay me to be quiet and you're one of those people, you're going to go off and have 100 more child victims. I'd go, you keep your money. I'm going public. You're dead. Real victims don't take these hush claim payments. Stormy Daniels took hush claim because it was probably false.
Exact amount because she wants to keep that secret, understandably. But now she's saying, oh, yeah, we're going to invent our own list. So this is never ending. There's never any ability to falsify the core mythological claims.
That's every conspiracy there is. It's never ending. And that's what Trump said about this. This is going to go on forever. It's the story that won't die. This is the moon landing. This is JFK. This is hollow earth. This is the earth is flat. Chemtrails. You can just go off. Okay. Aliens built the pyramids. I study all this stuff, guys. There's no evidence. 9/11 was an inside job by the Cheney and Bush and the Jews to get into a war. Bush, really? George Bush, that dingaling, that guy who I voted for, he went and called and said, you know what, Cheney, get your Halliburton buddies. We're going to pay guys to plant charges. And none of the guys that plant charges in that building are ever going to tell everyone, even though they'll be offered a $20 million book deal. I'm going to hire them at Halliburton to plant charges and we'll get away with it. We'll blame it on a bunch of guys that are going to smack a plane. This is stupid. Every conspiracy, is a giant faith statement with no evidence. No evidence. That's my beef. And if you want to argue that 9/11 is an inside job, you can join every Democrat and Rosie O'Donnell that says about temperatures of melting I-beams. Very good. You're walking the Democrat talking points. And I'm just trying to keep all of us from MAGA from doing the Democrats' work.
This story, so there was a mob in front of the Capitol today. People were convinced that Donald Trump is a pedophile. Donald Trump is covering up a gigantic pedophile ring. And because no countervailing information is allowed to be aired, such as that the central accuser in all this, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, was a chronic fabricator.
That's the important thing. Counter evidence is not allowed to be aired. You're only allowed to look at victims, and they talk about victims, and a victim's always right. No matter what a victim says, it's telling the truth. And if you don't believe the victim, then you're protecting pedophiles. That's the narrative. Got it? Are you a little suspicious yet? A little? Have I convinced you a little tiny bit yet? Or is your mind just slammed shut in a complete slavery, just mental slavery, drinking out the teat of the Democrat National Party, guys? Just think about it. Do Democrats care about child victims? They eat them. Abortion, the 300,000 missing children. We're going to get to all this.
And people just switch off their critical thinking
Michael,
skills and join the mob.
In 30 seconds, what is your analysis about why this mythology is so sticky, not just now on the right, but even on the left?
It's cross-ideological, right? So when Biden was in power, the Republicans wanted to believe that the devious Democrats were covering up pedophilia amongst their own friends and donors. Now the Democrats.
I've never called Biden a pedo, by the way. I've said he's creepy to children. I said that he digitally penetrated one of his assistants, Tara Reid. I did not. That's a very serious accusation when you throw that word around.
Want to believe something similar about Trump. It's like a ping pong ball that goes back and forth, and nobody actually analyzes the validity or lack thereof of the underlying evidence. And the underlying evidence is just laughably lacking, but people love to believe in these hidden child sex trafficking rings because they find it invigorating.
It's tabloid. This is Bat Boy in the National Enquirer. George H.W. Bush has allied with aliens against America. It's the Jews. This is all conspiracy stuff, guys. And it has a real repercussion. We're going to drain the gas out of this tank today. And we're going to mock the Democrats. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, get your acting gear because you're being used to try and legitimize this thing with MAGA. Don't do it. Trump's going to get impeached. Here's the pressure Marjorie Taylor Greene's getting on the Hill. Marjorie Taylor Greene says she got a lot of pushback from the White House over the Epstein discharge petition, okay? Rep Marjorie Taylor Greene turning her back on Trump. She said she got a lot of pushback from the White House from Trump over supporting a discharge position aiming to force the administration to release all of the documents related to the late disgraced financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Quote, "Oh, I got a lot of pushback. I got a phone call after phone call last night. They didn't want me to sign the discharge position." She's one of 4 Republicans to sign it. They only need 2 more lunatic signatures to agree with every Democrat that signed it, 100% of the Democrats, and they get 4. Anna Paula Luna, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie. They want to focus on the oversight investigation. They hate Thomas Massie more than they hate any Democrat. Yeah, we tend to hate Benedict Arnold's even more than the Brits because they can get into our party and do more damage. Benedict Arnold's can do more damage even than the other side, which makes no sense to me. And they don't want to work with Democrats at all. Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to work with Democrats. Where have you been? And they want you destroyed, Marjorie. You're going to work with people that want you destroyed. Greene, an ally of President Trump, I'll say an ex-ally, said during her Wednesday appearance on Real America's Voice Bowling, I'm going to say Marjorie Taylor Greene is about to get the Elon Musk treatment. How do I know? Listen to what Trump says about Elon Musk. This is on the Scott podcast.
I don't think he has a choice. So what's he going to do? He's going to go with the radical left lunatics?
Is Elon Musk going to go with the radical left lunatics? He doesn't have a choice. He has to come back to Trump.
You know, they're lunatics. I don't think he has a choice. He's a man of common sense. He's a good man. He got off the reservation. This
is how he's going to treat Marjorie Taylor Greene. She got off the reservation when she started saying that I was a pedo, when she stood in front of those signs.
Incorrectly. And that's okay because, you know, it's just one of those things. But but he's a good person. He's got, 80% super genius, and then 20% he's got some problems.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is 80% super genius also, and 20% she's got some problems. I suspect if she keeps this up, Trump's going to cut bait, and her career will be over. Marjorie Taylor Greene's entire family is on the payroll of the Democrat Party, of the Republican Party. Her kids, and they will cut her off. They will cut her and her family off. Marjorie Taylor Greene's also one of the people talk about Nancy Pelosi making a lot of money in stocks. I've said this before. My one beef with Marjorie Taylor Greene, she has made millions and millions in stock trades. That is, she knows that they're talking about something on a judicial committee. She makes her stock buys and sells, and then the law comes out, and lo and behold, her stock portfolio performs better than the average, than my stock expert, because of insider trading, I believe. But we'll give her a pass if she comes back. Come on, Marjorie, straighten up and fly right. Shoot down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Here's Massey, a snake in the grass with nothing but a personal vendetta against Trump, and that is all. Look at this greasy, creepy, sweaty. And you know what? I have a lot of respect for Thomas Massey as an American. He built his own house. His wife died. I mourn for that. I don't cheer for that. He is an engineering genius. The problem is he's not MAGA. He's not for the American voters. Doesn't believe Trump has a mandate.
Updates on the discharge petition. Do you think you'll get the number of signatures you need?
I think we'll eventually get there. What people are waking up and discovering right now is the folks who stayed up all night to go through the 34,000 individual pages have found that they're so redacted as to be useless.
Okay, I'm just going to go into this, guys. This is why this case will never end. Remember, all of the media have made you a promise. Guys, we're finally getting the Epstein files released. We're going to get to the bottom and the truth. Release those 33,000 pages. And then they release them. And was it enough? He goes to the 33,000 pages and he goes, they're mostly redacted. It's already been released in public. There's nothing here. Like I said, he came around to agree with me that not one new fact will be released. And what's his answer? All we need is the next, the grand jury testimony. The next thing, we're going to get that. I promise. We're going to get some new information. And then, guess what's in there, guys? Guess what's coming out? L0, L0.
And that many of them were already available.
Do you think this oversight tactic is releasing these documents? I mean, how do you actually read it? Clearly, they're pushing for more transparency, but it seems like it's not enough for you.
Well, I appreciate the effort that they've undertaken, but the scope of their investigation is to investigate the investigators. Like, they don't ever intend to have any criminal referrals. There may be some notations from the Oversight Committee when this is done that, oh, this FBI person didn't check this box, or this person acted unethically, or this person got too light of a sentence. But they're not going in and trying to identify who these perpetrators were of these heinous sexual abuse crimes.
I wanted to ask which Republicans you think will end up signing onto your discharge petition.
Well, I made the mistake of getting 12 co-sponsors, and so the White House knew who to target. So I'm not going to name anybody who's thinking.
He's not going to name names. He's hoping to get the votes. Though those other Republicans will be traitors against Trump also. Here's more gays for Trump. Look at me, finding strange bedfellows, gays for Trump. So let me get this straight. Victims of Jeffrey Epstein held a press conference today to call for the release of the files, but they all refused to say who their perpetrators were. All the victims, not one of them. They could have named one name. They didn't give you one name, not one fact. Can someone explain why? Not one name. Why? Thomas Massey, give us a name. You don't have any names. Marjorie Taylor Greene, give us a name. You don't have any names. All these victims, give us a name. All those signs calling Trump a pedo that Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene are standing in front of, no one will give a name. This is a giant nothing burger. Rep. Thomas Massey says Republicans in favor of the Epstein Files Transparency Act are being threatened. No, they're not. Says the opposition to him is being funded by 3 billionaires. One of them is in Epstein's black book, the black book that doesn't exist, more like black helicopters. This isn't political, but it is. The opposition's very political. You're in the opposition. You're the Democrat, Thomas. You're on the opposition side. Oh, look, this is my favorite one. Here's a Democrat saying those 300,000 victims that were brought over here from Mexico, they don't exist. They're not there. It's a conspiracy, he's saying about RFK Jr., that the 300,000 children that are here, that we could actually stop them being, even though Tom Homan saved 10,000 of them and sent them back to them, this is a Democrat saying they don't exist.
His delusions. His prepared testimony even today includes the debunked lie that 500,000 children disappeared under the Biden administration's watch, a lie that the Trump administration is using as a pretext to hunt immigrant children and their families. So,
oh, okay, it's a lie. It's a lie. Are you catching it yet? Epstein abused kids is real, and that's a lie. Biden let 300,000 children go in the country, and he says that's a debunked lie. Marjorie Taylor Greene is helping this party. Massey is helping this party, is what I'm angry about. So years ago, when Epstein was traveling the globe with Clinton, now this is about the quote that Epstein's favorite brag was that he knew Trump.
With Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey and Ghislaine were always very boastful about their friends, their famous or powerful friends, and his biggest brag forever was that he was very good friends with Donald Trump. Jeffrey Epstein's biggest brag was that he was friends with Donald Trump back when he was just a B-level game show host, billionaire game show host. Don't forget Jeffrey Epstein. He traveled the globe with Bill Clinton. Jeffrey Epstein, a Democrat, traveled the globe with Bill Clinton. That wasn't his biggest brag, according to this victim. No, though the Bill Clinton, painting, he had portraits painted of Bill Clinton. And Trump was the biggest brag. Jeffrey Epstein co-founded the Clinton Global Initiative. He was a frequent guest at the White House, and he was chilling with the Queen of England at her private cottage. And he found his biggest brag to be with Trump. We're supposed to believe the biggest brag. You have to be retarded to believe this desperate psyop, obviously intended to help the left hold on to its dwindling base. They clearly need new material to keep Orange Man bad going. And finally, this is from the mostly peaceful Latinas. This is over the women. One woman said she sold her friends. This is one of the, quote, victims that you're supposed to have compassion on. One of the victims said she sold her friends at 16 years old to Epstein for $200 a pop. That's one of the victims did. So she did not call the cops. She just sold her classmates off. That's what those victims did. One of them did. And now she's up there playing the victim. Does that sound like a victim to you? Wait, there's more. Every single girl knew, this is from two girls, Latina girls. Every single girl knew what they were doing when they got recruited to massage Epstein for $200 to $300. They wanted the fame. They wanted the money. They were models trying to expand their career. How do I know that? Because I read so did I, by the way, read the 76 pages of the Florida grand jury, which includes eyewitness testimony. The girls themselves admitted to the police that they were told that about the gig ahead of time. The police went and warned the victims, and they said, no, we want to go work for Epstein for $200, $300 a pop. And now in hindsight, book deal, get Trump. This is a nothing burger. We're going to keep calling this out. And you can spread this episode to your friends who are being suckered right now by Democrats to divide MAGA. It's time to unite MAGA around the truth and that the Jeffrey Epstein, the whole thing, it's a hoax. I'm Doug in Exile. Subscribe.